Crew, what's up? What's good? It's your girl Jasmine back with another video on our channel. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. So, today's video, we're talking about things that weren't socially acceptable. Let's start over. In the 1980s, things that are not socially acceptable today. There we go. I'm excited for this video, man, because I always feel like back in the day was so much fun. Like, it was just so, like, everything is just so different. Literally, everything is different. And, y'all know I wasn't born in the 1980s, but just going back and seeing that time frame, I say like the 80s to like the 90s, man, it was probably one of the best times probably to be a teenager or a kid, you know, probably like 8 to like a teenager age. Like, it's probably like the best time, and I kind of wish that I was, you know, that age during that time, but I was not even thought about then. But let's get into it, man. I'm a very old school head in all like music, fashion, everything. I'm very old school in that sense. But let's go ahead and get into it. I hope you guys will enjoy this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, push your notification bell so you notification when I post. That being said, let's see what happened back then that is not acceptable today. Let's go.
On, and Atari was still very popular. We didn't have all the constant news in our face, but our social media was hanging out with friends and family.
Facts.
Some of the things we used to do would probably get you arrested now.
Probably.
Safety standards in cars were pretty well absent. The regulations were more like mild suggestions rather than rules or laws. Nobody wore seatbelts, and many people just wondered why they were even there. As a kid, you could sit in the middle of the bench seat up front and control the radio.
Hey, I know your big mama, your big daddy, your granddaddy, your grandma, whatever you call them. I know they had one of these joints right here. I know they did. Look, I was born in the 90s, right? So, I'm not going to tell you. Yeah, I was born in the 90s. So, I remember riding one of these. Man.
If you wanted to see over the tall dash,
then you
could just simply stand up. Heck, Dad may
have
even placed you in his lap so you could help him steer the car. It was also common to see kids just packed in the back of a station wagon or maybe in the bed of a pickup truck.
Facts.
Car seats were available for purchase, but rarely would you ever see one in a car.
Ooh.
If your car was packed with kids, then it was usually easier just to leave them in the car and then go into the grocery store and shop. Most people just left the windows rolled down and the kids would be just fine.
Oh, that's funny. Can't do that
Kids
no
were very
more.
active, and it wasn't uncommon just to tell your parents you were going outside to play, and then you would disappear for most of the day, if not all of it.
That's one thing I miss, bro, is having freedom. You know what I'm saying? Not that I'm a celebrity or anything, but I feel like a lot of people is just so glued to their phones. And it's like they don't want to be outside. Kids, you know what I'm saying? Like, kids nowadays, like, a lot of kids don't even know how to ride a bike no more. Like, as a standard, like, that's like, if you want to hang with friends, you better learn how to ride a bike or ride this scooter so you can get to their house. But yeah, as long as you home by the street lights, you good, you know what I'm saying? But nowadays, it's rare when you see kids outside. And when you do, they on their phones, you know what I'm saying? They doing something they ain't supposed to do. But back then, I feel like you had way more freedom to do whatever.
It was always easy to tell where all the neighborhood kids were just by glancing at someone's yard and seeing the collection of bicycles. If that wasn't seen, then most of the kids would knock on their friend's door to see if they were home and if they wanted to come out and play. If you went around riding bikes, then you certainly didn't wear a helmet.
Nope.
Most people couldn't even see these in stores to buy, and if you could, they wouldn't have even wanted them. Same thing with elbow pads and knee pads. Most kids just thought it was cool to show off your latest injury or skinned knee. If you happen to be too far from home too late, then no problem. Find one of the payphones that were all over the place, and if you didn't have change, then that wasn't a problem either.
See, that's one thing I miss. I never had a chance to use a payphone. Never. I seen a payphone like what? Twice. Like face to face. I seen a payphone twice face to face in my life. And it's like, dang, like, you really did not have the opportunity to, like, cell phone, like, you really have the opportunity to, like, whip out a cell phone and be like, yo, bro, I'm on my way. It's either, like, you home or you not home. I gotta ride this bike to get there and just see if you home, hoping and guessing that you home. You know, it's like, that's wild. It's crazy.
Your parents knew when they got the collect call.
You have a collect call from.
I'm at the community center.
Do you accept charges?
Your mom and dad would just come
How
and
much
pick
was
you
the
up and
charges
load
back
up the
then,
bikes
y'all?
if you had them. Otherwise, your parents just expected you to be home by the time the street lights came on.
Hey, swear.
As experts in online education, Purdue University Global gives you all the flexibility you need to balance school, work.
Smoking was still very big, and parents smoked in the home and in the car with kids still in it. Secondhand smoke was just something that everyone had to live with, and most people weren't worried about exposing it to kids.
Sadly, that's one thing I did not like. I did not like how you could smoke anywhere. Just because, like, if some people wasn't used to that environment, it was like awkward. It was like, dang, now I smell all this smoke while I'm trying to eat my breakfast. You know, because like you could literally be sitting there and somebody next to you is popping a whole cig in their mouth while you sitting there trying to eat at the restaurant. You know what I'm saying? So I'm kind of glad that they kind of like took that out because, whew, that was a rough little time.
It wasn't uncommon to see people just smoking away in restaurants, and most of them probably didn't even have smoking sections.
Yeah.
Things were so different back then that there were
lasted for a
cigarette
while
machines
too. I
in
don't
front
even
of
think
some
that was just in the
stores
80s. I feel
and
like that lasted a
restaurants.
while.
No ID
I
check
remember
or
all that.
anything, just insert the quarters and pull the knob.
Yep, I remember.
It was
all
also
that.
a time when kids would run to the convenience store and pick up some essentials.
Yep.
Sometimes those essentials were cigarettes, and all we needed was a note from mom or dad and a blank check.
Word, I did not know that.
Considering how most people were about smoking, it's not surprising that alcohol would be much different. Alcohol wasn't something that kids enjoyed, but I'm sure many tasted it just to see what it was like when parents offered it. Being a latchkey kid was perfectly fine. Parents were busy working and doing other things, so it was quite common to see kids at home by themselves or watching younger siblings until they got home.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. I feel like that happened for a little while too, but then again, I don't know, cause I feel like, I mean, dang, parents gotta work. You know what I'm saying? Not all parents work your school schedule. You know, and sometimes I know people freak out having your kids home, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do.
Parents just thought if kids were old enough to dial the important numbers or 911, they were responsible enough to be at home alone.
I swear.
Physical punishment was also something that was viewed very differently. Paddling or swats from parents, family, or teachers was considered completely reasonable if the kids misbehaved or were disrespectful.
Now this, I never experienced that in my life. I don't even think my mom experienced that. Now my grandparents, yes, cause yeah. But what y'all think about the paddle? That's a whole different thought process for me, cause boy, cause I know back then it was like, yeah, I'll give you permission to whoop my kid. Shit. Like what did y'all think of that? What do y'all think of that?
Punishment was usually swift and painful. Peanut allergies certainly were around back then, but kids still brought peanut butter sandwiches and peanut products to school. Peanut and other allergy bans weren't a thing. EpiPens didn't hit the market until 1987, so if you had an allergy, you just had to hope you didn't die. If you were a teenager in the 1980s, then you didn't have Instagram or Snapchat.
Right.
Your social media
Or
was
Twitter.
hanging out at the mall with
Or
your
Facebook.
friends. You could do a little shopping, eating, and a whole lot of hanging out.
Look at that.
Parents would allow their kids to roam the mall by themselves for hours. Kids may still go to the
Anytime you see these hairstyles in a picture, you automatically know what era it was. You already know.
mall today, but not quite as much. If they hang out there all day now, they might accuse you of loitering. Chickenpox parties were something that many people had long before there was a vaccine. Most people felt it was best just to get chickenpox out of the way so you wouldn't have to worry about it later. If one kid started showing signs, then it was time to gather every other kid who hadn't gotten it for a good old-fashioned party. The PG-13 rating didn't exist until July 1st, 1984, and prior to that, they got away with a lot more.
That's crazy.
People realized that there was a huge gap between PG and R. If you take a look back at the movie Airplane, which was PG, you'll understand how wide this gap was.
I ain't never heard of that.
The movie was filled with a lot of adult humor in it, and it even showed some nudity.
See, I ain't gonna hold you. Like, film like this, I can't watch today. I can't watch. It's a little too old for me, you know what I'm saying? I can watch 90s film, though. I don't know about 80s. It'd be a little bit too old.
On August 10th, 1984, the action film Red Dawn starring Patrick Swayze and Charlie Sheen became the first ever PG-13 movie to be released in theaters.
Oh, that's dope.
Over the last 40 years, there have been many changes, not just in technology, but in regulations on what we can and cannot do. Most of the younger generations do not realize how many changes have taken place during the 80s and have continued to do so.
That gas prices and the food prices, my God. Back then, boy, couldn't tell us nothing, boy.
I hope you enjoyed this little walk down memory lane. Thank you so much for watching.
Why don't you come up here, Pumpkin? What are you doing, Larry? Well, Vince, I've asked my pumpkin to sit on my lap to prove a point. And what is that, your Larryness? Even if we fasten our safety belts, even if you hold on tight, even if you were watching the road... Yeah? We love that little pumpkin to be...
You see, kids like me usually do what the driver does. If they don't buckle, we don't buckle. Sounds pretty dumb, huh?
Blow that smoke all around, dragon lady. Girl...
I'm weak. Alright, so I was just saying what the rest of the video was. So I just showing little clips of things that came out in the 80s. And I do remember that seatbelt video. That's crazy. But, I would love to hear y'all thoughts on this video, especially if you're from, maybe if you was like a kid or a teenager during that time. I would love to hear your things that wasn't in this video that maybe came back to your mind that is not socially acceptable today. I would love to hear it. Comment down below. Any other videos you'd like to see me do, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and push the notification bell. With that being said, see you guys next video.